shake out next year?
I mean, if you were going to do predictions, we should get our little crystal ball going, and then we should immediately be tarred, feathered, and run away because, predictions never happen the way you want them to.
Nobody knows for sure, but I will give you some data that I think could impact the market. Fair?
Yeah,
Fair enough?
I mean, it's all going to have an impact. And we did predict a correction, but we were a year and a half late when it actually happened. So
nobody could have predicted what happened after COVID.
Early on our predictions.
Yeah, the interesting thing, and this is part of what we'll cover today with the Tampa housing market and rental market. Before we do that, let's dive into the weekly numbers. So this week, our new listings are coming in at 838. The one that is always worth mentioning every week at this time is the number of price decreases coming in at 941.
Yeah, but price increases is 73.
Well, that doesn't, literally we saw someone, I had a client that texted me yesterday and they go, oh my gosh, I saw this house that said 3 whatever, and then I just refreshed it and it was in the 5s. I'm like, yeah, that was a typo. So
True.
That would report in that data.
That'd be funny if you like if you hit back on your browser, do you get the $3.99 price?
Yeah, no. The seller has to agree to any offer. Anyway, so the new listings coming in at 838. Price decrease is 941. Sellers, you are missing the mark on where to price that. That's where the value of your agent is going to come into play, because people like me look at all the variables and all the data that will help you price your home correctly, right? So the number of sold listings, this is coming in at 692. That's a little shift.
That is.
It's a little shift. 692, and the number of pending still all the way up at 869, still higher than our new listings on the market.
So how is back to school? Because the first day of school was yesterday, if you couldn't tell from all the extra traffic on the road. How is school going to tie into all this? Slow the market down, speed it up?
Some neighborhoods obviously are more school-centric than others, right? Some areas that have really, really good schools, they're going to see a lot of traffic and action over the summer. Sometimes there's things that you can't quite predict or play out, right? Like I have a property now, and it's a husband and wife getting a divorce. Part of that was she wanted to find the next place where she was going before she listed it. So that would have been a good one that, would have been perfect to hit over the summer, and it could impact the value, but I think there's buyers always looking in there. And the bigger thing to talk about is the supply and demand issue, because that's still real. Let's go into the June data, and I'll piggyback on that question. Sound good? Because it'll tie together. All right, so June data, when we look at June 2023, it's pretty consistent looking at the absorption rate, right? Like Q2 showed us at a 1.8. It's consistent for June. So 1.8 month supply of homes mean if no more homes came in the market, how long would it take all the homes in the market to sell? And the answer is less than 2 months. So 1.8 months supply.
So if you're basically in the market for more than 2 months, then something's gone terribly wrong?
Well, I mean, that's the price decreases.
That's true.
That's going to be part of what you're seeing. And so as we look at these numbers, we look at them side by side, we'll look at like Q2, which would be April, May, June, and then we'll look at just June to give you a better idea of how it's looking going into the summer. So when you look at Q2, one thing worth mentioning right away, and that's consistent for cash sales are down. In Q2, 34%, in June, 30%. And so you're not yawning at the data, are you, Leo? I see that little yawn under.
No one can see that on radio. So when I was interested, I was looking at paid in cash. That's
cash, all cash buyers.
All cash buyers. Those are investors, aren't they, mostly?
Some. It could be people bringing their cash from another property or another state. That could be the case, too. It's just if they didn't get a mortgage and they paid cash, they're in that bucket.
Oh, because I always thought that was the investor bucket, the wholesaler bucket, the hedge fund bucket, those buckets.
It's part of that data for sure, and it's likely the majority of it. I would say at least 80% of it is in that data, but some of it is not.
That's a sharp decrease. Year over year, 30% decrease in cash transactions. So what's driving that?
So I think, and this will go a little bit into my prediction. I think that a lot of the cash buyers are waiting on the sideline, or the deal has to be good enough for them to move on it right now. I think they're waiting on the sideline for some of the things that are going to change. Now, I'll get into why I think that's going to change and when those cash purchases will get better. I'll get into that in just a minute. Let's get through the rest of the numbers. So the median sale price for Q2, $409 and change, almost $410. And then when you look at June, look at this, because this gives you an idea of which way the market is going.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So, I mean, for all of Q2, which is a 3-month period, the median sale price, and median, again, is if every house in the market sold the transaction that occurred in the middle, what was that value? So the median price was $409,000, but for June it was $415, which means that June was way above, statistically, it was above the average for the past 3 months, which is showing an upward trend. However, if we take a look at June of 2022, it's a little bit weaker than it was last year.
Not by much. Not enough worth mentioning.
It's worth mentioning.
Well, considering what June was like last year, where we were moving into the higher interest rate environment, there was a lot of demand. Some of that demand cooled off. Some of it didn't. There was a lot of pushing still in that. And keep in mind, a lot of this data does not even include the new builds. Those don't always report.
No, and there's a lot of new builds, especially in the Pasco Hernando area. I'm just still amazed about the lack of the cash, because, I mean, it's not like interest rates are gone down.
No, but think about it. Some of these CDs are as high as 7%, right? So I think some people are just parking cash waiting for really good opportunities in the real estate market. And I think they're going to get it, and I'll tell you why. And I know we're looking at the Florida Realtors data, which encompasses 4 counties. So Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, and Hernando.
Because we can't forget Hernando.
Well, Hernando is going to pull this data down a little bit. Talking about Tampa specific.
Slam Hernando all the time.
I'm not slamming Hernando.
I just want to pull the data down.
Well, the numbers. The numbers are a little lower. The median price in Tampa proper, right? Mm-hmm. According to CoreLogic, is $445,000.
That Hernando is pulling it down quite a bit. If that's pulling it down 30,000.
This CoreLogic data, that's all they do. They're a data company. They're $445,000 last month, and 3.5% over last year. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is the whole huge metro area, but think about it. Like, would you live in Hernando?
Well, I mean, I'm not into ranch farming, and I kind of like having neighbors, and I like the convenience of being close to things.
There's some people that are in, like, the Hillsborough, Pasco market that just, or even Pinellas for that matter, that won't move that far into Hernando.
Right.
And then you have some that are going further north. But like citrus, seeing a pretty big push in citrus.
Citrus, Sumter, and Lake, are those 3 boxes right there?
Lake's more in the middle. Citrus is directly north of Hernando.
Okay.
And that county, that has new construction of 300s.
Wait, Citrus?
We're selling some stuff there. New construction of 300s. Can you believe it?
I'm not even
nice
sure.
Little new homes, too.
Not even sure you can build a home for 300, let alone find one with a plot of land.
Well, they are, and they're decent-sized lots. It's not like 5-foot lot lines.
That's awesome. So, I mean, if you're looking for homes in real estate in Citrus County, text the word orange to 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. Text the word orange, which is a form of citrus.
Couldn't it be just citrus? It's a little shorter.
Could be citrus. Could be whatever you want. Just text us hello. We'll get back to you.
All right. To run through the rest of this.
Yeah, we got time.
Well, dollar volume, $2.1 billion for June compared to $2.3 last year. And percentage.
So what is dollar volume? Is that like the...
So it's like if you're selling a $500,000 house and you sold 2 of them, that's $1 million worth of volume.
So if you sold 1,000 of those, that would be $2 billion.
There you go.
Okay.
But it's all the little ones in between. There actually is more data to cover here, including price ranges, which I want to talk about. And then we will just get into a few more other things, including the CoreLogic data. I'll tell you why I think it's so strong in this area, and I'll tell you when and why I think it might change.
Yeah.
Not exactly when, but when.
When we come right back from the break, we'll have your inspection tip of the week, which you'll get to hear. So 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. You can go ahead and text or call that number to hear us in person.
This is Tampa Home Talk. We'll be right back.
Good morning. Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection, bringing you your tip of the week when it comes to
Inspections.
Inspections.
That's what you guys do.
Yes, we do inspections. We do.
See, our guest that was here last week, I gave him your card. You weren't here.
I was not here.
But they're buying a new build, and I said, you definitely need to get a home inspection. Call Leo.
So this home inspection tip has to do with your AC system.
Ooh, that's a big one right now.
That's a big one.
I see that floating around social media.
What is floating around social media?
Like, I've heard a lot of people, like, I've noticed different posts about how the AC is, like, pumping harder, the electric bills are higher, and the AC is not cooling as efficient, making it hotter in the afternoon, and it takes a longer period of time for it to cool back down.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All of those things. You have to think in AC's temperature differentials, which is the amount of coldness it's pumping out to the outside temperature to what it ends up going at the return to go back into the AC, you're looking at about a 16 to 18 degree difference. So if you are in 95 to 97 degrees, getting your home into the low 70s is actually really straining your system.
Well, and that's one of the things you guys test as home inspectors. Why do you test the temperature differential?
Just to see how efficient the unit's running. If you're running between 16 and 20 degrees, you're like that temperature differential between what the air is coming out of the unit to what it is going back into the unit. That's actually considered a pretty good differential. If it's lower, you could have a clogged coil, you could have dirty filters, or you could have a unit that's on its way out. So that's one of the things to note. But the tip of the week here is if you set your thermostat to 60, or you set it to 70, or you set it to 75, your system's not going to get to that temperature any faster. So some people think if they set the unit to 60, they'll get to 75 faster, and then they can set it back up to 75. That's not how it works. Your home is still going to cool relatively slowly, and just set it for what it needs to be set at. And try setting it for 75, 76, rather than trying to get to that 72.
What are some things people could do to insulate their home a little better so that it doesn't take so much, so it's not so much strain on the AC unit, it doesn't take as long to get as cool?
Well, certain things you can do on older homes. You can spray foam, or you can spray insulation into the attic. It's kind of like that, looks like popcorn stuff. You just spray it into the attic. That's what you can do. If you want to get a little bit more savvy, you can actually spray foam the top of your attic, and then that will also help insulate the rest of your home. However, you can't do that if you have what's known as a peel and stick or an SWR underlayment, or you'll melt your shingles.
Oof.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. So that's the kind of insulation you can do. Another thing is if you have an older system, you could consider adding a mini split for those longer runs. A mini split could do cool for certain sections of your house. So let's say you spend a lot of time in the living room or a lot of time in the bedroom, and you just want those 1 or 2 rooms cooler than the rest. That's when a mini split might be your best friend. So now you're not taxing your whole AC system to get the one room that you're in at a better temperature.
Yeah.
Hey, Leo, what do you think the heat is doing to the shingles?
Oh, it's definitely impacting its useful life. I mean, I was just in California, and they don't get the rain that we do, and I was looking at shingles, and they looked all melted and warped. They just looked older. You don't see shingles of that age here in Florida, because if it rains, they would then leak. So yeah, this intense heat, the last thing you want to do is be walking on your roof in this intense heat, because the shingles will be so hot that when walking on them, you'll actually mar all the granules off the shingles.
Yeah, it's well, I have a roofer with a new material coming soon. I don't know when. I think next month. So we'll try to plan that when I know you're here.
Yeah, and speaking of just general heat in general, I just wanted to run something by the listening audience here. So Katrina,
Shoot.
the Earth is what, 75% made of water?
Yeah, it's a pretty high number. It sounds about right.
Yeah, and is that water carbonated, or is it still?
Hopefully it's not carbonated or still.
So you'd say it's not carbonated then?
Yeah.
So technically the Earth is flat.
Dad joke of the day. Dad joke of the day.
It was a scientific discovery.
Oh, wait, that was a joke?
I waited 3 weeks to say that.
Oh, you thought long and hard about that. You thought long and hard about that.
Where were we on the numbers?
Yeah, there's that.
You're actually
All
laughing
right.
pretty hard. I did good with that one. Thank you, listening audience. Thank you for humoring me.
All right, so a couple more things to look at for this data in June. Let's see how this stacks up over the quarter, Leo, if you want to chime in on this. Median time to contract, so June of last year versus this year, we're up 157%. In June of last year, it only took 7 days to get a contract. In June of this year, it's about 18 days to get to contract.
And now we're trending in the wrong direction. So while the price is increasing, now it's taking longer to get that price. So median time to contracts now at 21 days.
For the whole quarter.
For the whole quarter, but you're
well,
telling
June
me...
was 18, so again, into the summer months,
Oh,
remember?
it's trending in the correct direction.
Well, I think you could see some seasonality in some of this data, right, as it relates to that. So the interesting point, let's look at the Q2 data, because the median time to contract being 21 days, that's about right. So I have to tell sellers all the time, don't freak out if your house is not sold in the first 7 to 10 days.
What if you don't get a showing in the first 7 to 10 days?
Then you got a problem with price or condition. Price. It's 100% price. If you don't
Yeah.
get one showing in a week, it's price.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
If you're getting showings and no offers, it's condition.
Okay, so that's good. That's a good tip. That is Katrina's tip of the week. If you are getting no showings,
Zippo.
it's price.
It's definitely price.
But if you're getting showings but no offers, it's condition.
Right.
So how do you fix one or the other?
Well, you hire a pro like me, and we can help you get that price correct.
Yeah, but if you're locked into a year contract, what are you going to do?
Well, you need to ask your realtor that you hired to go over the data with you and look at that in depth and actually look at other homes that are like yours within 20% that are on the market, 20% within square footage that are on the market. If you have a pool, look at other homes with a pool preferably. If you don't have a pool, look at other homes without a pool. Don't try to comp your home that doesn't have a pool with one that does.
And how do condos fit into all that?
Condos are their own animal. You have to look in that building.
Yeah.
And there should be some data in there, but you have to truly look at that, and you have to look at it from a buyer's perspective. Okay, with my home and the updates that I have or don't have, if I was a buyer, would I pick this home at this price, considering other stuff you can buy, right?
True.
And you can't use the fact that there may not be anything else in your immediate neighborhood for sale, because we already know the absorption rate is low. It's 1.8 months supply of homes, but buyers are savvy, and it still has to be priced correctly.
That makes
But
sense.
There are a lot of people out there that are just sitting on their homes now because they have a mortgage rate of 2 or 3% and it's stagnant, where they really want to move, but they do not want to lose that risk.
Yeah, why would you? I mean, if you're not paying cash and you have money tied up on your house via a mortgage and you're under 3% or in that neighborhood,
Oh, I miss those days.
why would you sell your home? It doesn't make any sense. I would retain it as an investment property before I would sell it personally, even if I needed to make a move. I would retain it at that lower interest rate. So that's part of the absorption rate why you're seeing it so low, because even if people are going to, like, if they can't modify it or change it, which is advisable, right? You could get a home equity loan if you didn't have the cash. I'd prefer if you paid cash, but for your improvements, save the money and pay cash to do it. But if you didn't do it, or let's say your mom had to come live with you, it was urgent, right? She was in the hospital and you didn't have, how much does it cost for an addition?
In addition?
Basic addition, like say a bedroom and a small bathroom and a small living space.
Yes, 100,000.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be that far off.
Okay, so if you didn't have 100,000 liquid, which is probably most of the people listening, you could get a home equity loan. You could go to somebody like Beryl, have them design and draw up and give you engineering plans to add that, which is still going to take some time, right? But that would be a good way to hold on to that lower rate and then quickly pay off that equity loan. So I would tell you to follow like the Dave Ramsey principle and quickly try and pay that off. And then you have other factors where maybe mom or dad are living in their own home. They're going to sell that home and then you're going to pay off that equity loan. That's a good way to look at it.
Oh, yeah. So your mom and dad are selling that to then move into your own house.
Correct. Yeah, because sometimes, people don't want to put their parents in assisted living or independent care. They're really expensive, or they don't want them to go there, and they prefer to have them at their home. But
I would prefer to have them in a detached structure at the home rather than in the home.
Well, correct, right. But even if you didn't have the room for a detached structure, you could still, if you had the room to attach it to yours, but it was still its own space, that would be a good backup
Yeah,
option.
but now you're talking about having a small kitchenette in there. So you're talking either building some kind of studio or a one-bedroom type setup or a two-bedroom. And I mean, you can get a decent two-bedroom setup with 600 square feet with the the second bedroom being more of an office or a utility room, like not laundry room, but a utility use room. Yeah.
Real quick though, what's happening? I see this a lot in Town and Country. There used to be 1 or 2 cars in the driveway. Now there's 4 or 5.
Yes.
Because what people have done, they've remodeled their house, and they are not only family moving in, they have renters moving in.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of multi-gen housing. The housing costs are way up, so some people do have to rent a room or 2 maybe to manage their mortgage payment. I mean, the utility bills alone, the electric companies were allowed to increase as much as 30%.
My electric bill was over $1,000 last month.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So how much was it last year at this time?
600.
See, so the energy costs have gone up significantly.
And the fact we haven't had rain and my AC costs have gone through the
And
roof.
if you were barely affording it to begin with, you may have to rent a room in your house to afford your mortgage, right?
It's also destroying the Airbnb market, and we'll talk about that when we come back from the break.
We will.
813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775.
Welcome home. This is Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, joined by Leo King with Beryl Engineering and Inspections.
And inspection. Don't forget that part. And inspection and engineering.
Do you do mostly inspections or more engineering?
Oh, thanks to our state of Florida contract with the My
Love
Safe Florida
inspections.
Home program,
Yeah.
which is still going strong, by the way. Make sure you get your piece of $100 million in grant money. We do mostly inspections.
I figured, yeah.
Yes.
So,
We did 10,000 inspections under that program this year.
dang,
To
Leo,
date.
you guys are rock stars. Look at that. Okay, so before we run into the rest of the numbers, a couple more things I do want to talk about on here. Today is National Son and Daughter Day. And I mention this because this is going to be your life tip of the week as Maddie sits next to me. So this love-centric family holiday is celebrated every August 11th. And it reminds us to take a step back from the whirlwind of paying bills and all these thousands of daily obligations to spend time with your children. And they're saying it's a good time to go ahead and spoil your kids a little and be a grandparent ahead of time for the day. And just remind the kids through all the ups and downs and mayhems of life how they've turned out, what you're proud of, and they're the greatest loves of your life.
I mean, if you think about it, every living human being is a son or daughter of someone.
That's correct.
Yeah. So
That's
this is
right.
a holiday to celebrate every person on the planet.
That is right. All right. So a couple more things on the data, and then I'll talk about why we're where we're at, and then we'll just keep this moving along. So the number of months supply of homes, remember we said we're at 1.8 months supply in June. Just want to look real quick. Just
At the quarter, it's the same. So
It is. Looking at the history, I'm going to look at the highest number, right? And that was November, like in a rolling 12 months.
Yep.
November of last year, 2.4 months supply. Think about that. What was November of last year?
Thanksgiving.
And buyers were in shell shock from the interest rates.
Interest rates were just, if they only knew now what they knew then.
We started to see a cooling last year, definitely last quarter, little slower in third quarter, quite a bit more in fourth quarter, as you can see. I mean, look at this data. So October, November, December, October 2.2, November 2.4, December 2.2. That's when reality started setting back in. And then this quarter, first quarter, it went up.
So you have to think, though, I mean, realistically, that number right there at 2 or a little under 2 or a little over 2 is still a seller's market. I mean, we
Definitely.
still, until you're,
6 to 12 months is a balanced market.
That's a balanced market.
Before you even get to a buyer's market.
so we have all these savvy buyers, but we're still in a seller's market, which means that, what are there, unsavvy buyers sneaking in? What's going on here?
No, I just think that, hence the price decreases we're seeing. People have to be priced appropriately, correctly for the condition of the home that we're selling, right? Remember we talked about how buyers were just buying whatever and they were waiving inspections and all this stuff.
Yeah, then we got involved in a lot of lawsuits with buyers suing sellers over the condition of homes, and we're like, well, it's in your home inspection report. We can't really help you here.
Yeah.
And then we have others where sellers did try and cover some stuff up, and those are the people, those are the buyers we can help. If the seller, we had one where a seller flipped the house, didn't flip it using permits,
Oof.
and checked all the boxes of didn't know what was going on in the inside. And the lawyer's like, you can't renovate a whole house and not know what's going
Not
on
know
in the,
anything.
in the inside.
That's why we push our investors to still complete a seller's disclosure. So if you're buying an investment property or a flip, and you know they've done some work to it, don't accept no seller's disclosure or don't know all over it. Don't accept that. Make them fill it out with anything that they do know. Save yourself that lawsuit later.
I would 100% agree. I mean, we get involved now in the lawsuits where sellers are trying to cover stuff up. So that's how I know the market's a little less on because when buyers are suing sellers because they didn't read a home inspection report versus buyers suing sellers because sellers are actively covering stuff up.
If it's priced right, we'll still get multiple offers. Not like before, but we might get 2 or 3 offers. And the interesting thing, a lot of government buyers still in there, and we'll talk about how that plays out. Not a lot of cash like we saw before.
Yeah, I mean, that lack of cash is the concerning thing to me because that will impact condo sales. You have to also think, how does Senate Bill 4D and Senate Bill 154 impact condo sales? Because if your condominium is over 3 stories in 25 years, it's subject to a whole bunch of new inspection criteria where they're looking at the structural stability of the building. So I could see condo sales of older units going down because of that.
We should look at that data. I'm going to pull just in general condos if I can. We'll probably cover that like next segment.
I would love to talk just about the condos to see the
'cause
implications.
we don't cover that in our data, but for sure and we probably haven't seen it. We haven't seen. We're not like in the thick of it yet.
No,
it's coming.
It's coming. I mean, most of these reports are due by December of 2024. In all the reports that our firm is writing, we're seeing an increase in dues from anywhere from 30 to 50%.
That's huge. That's a big, big number.
Yeah, they're underfunded. And it's not just they're underfunded because the state decided, hey, here's all these new criteria you need to be saving for. They're underfunded because they're simply just underfunded. They're just smaller HOAs. They don't want to, they'd rather special assess than properly assess, and the state's taken that ability away.
Yeah, because they don't want what happened in the Surfside collapse to happen again.
Anywhere else, yeah. And I mean, we had a condo collapse in Miami. We had one almost collapse in Jacksonville, and then we had one that did collapse out of state. So other states are starting to adopt these reserve study rules.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it protects them. It's harmful now and painful now, just because, it's a big shock. When you're talking about 30 to 50% increase in dues, they may have budgeted for those other numbers, so it may not really be affordable.
Yeah, and you have to look at the flip side. So you have these HOAs that really should be at higher dues, but they're lower, and then they hit their unit owners with $15,000 to $20,000 special assessment. What's more painful, getting the $20,000 special assessment or going up $300 a month?
I think it hurts a resale if you're jacking at $300 a month. The special assessment I think is better for that community. It's painful because not everybody has the money, but
if you don't have the $300 a month, how are you going to afford the $20,000 at one shot?
I'm not saying they can't afford it. I'm just saying for resale, right? If buyers see an HOA that is $500 compared to $750 or somewhere like that, it's going to be easier to resell something at $500 versus $750. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But then again, those are warning flags. If I'm looking at a condo listing and the dues look artificially low, that's got to be a big warning flag to people as well.
Yeah, I mean, because we talk about it, right, all the time on here. We talk about it, but real quick, I want to look at the brackets and price.
I love brackets. That's
Pat,
a negotiations tactic.
What I have to say might actually floor you, and I think we should play guess the number. So Florida Realtors reports it like under 50,000, 50 to 99.9. So how many homes do you think sold in June, Pat, that were under 50,000?
Under 50,000.
Under 50. Could be any dumper, could be anything, just under 50,000. 4 counties, single family, 4 counties.
I'm going to say 100.
0.
That's what I really want.
That has got to be a
0.
house. It doesn't, like tracts of land don't count?
No, that's not on this report. What about 50 to 999, so not quite 100? How many of those do you think sold in June in 4 counties? 6. What about 100 to, say, 150, not quite 150, 149,999? How many in June? 21. Look at that. All right, what about 150 to 199,999?
40.
72.
Yeah, so we're starting to get up. We're starting to actually see houses that you can find in the market.
200 to 249,999.
That's going to be a bigger number.
How many?
That's got got to be probably 120.
191.
Yep. See, now we're going higher. Now we're
And then, remember the median price was how much, Leo?
median price was like 400.
Low fours?
Yeah, little four.
So 250 to 299,999. How many do you think there?
Let Leo guess this.
I can't guess. I got
He's
the numbers
looking at
numbers in front of me.
Okay, then I'm going to say 2 1/4.
347 for
Now,
1 month.
now we're getting into the real meat and potatoes.
So
like the
this is your median. right here.
300 to 400,000,
Yeah.
and then 400 to 600,000. So most homes are going in that
Which
range.
technically, if it's priced exactly at 400 or exactly at 600, it's a different bucket. Yeah. So so in 300 to 399, 999, 1207, and then 400 to 599, 999, 1290.
So most houses are moving between 3 and 600,000.
Under 600. Once you hit 600 to just under $1 million, there was only 659 in June for 4 counties.
Monthly payment on that.
Oh, I can tell you the payment. Hold on.
Well,
I
are you
think I
putting
have my
20% down? Are you not putting 20% down? I mean, you're probably looking.
Have to put 20% down. There's no way you're going to get away with that.
So you're looking like 3,000 to 3,500 in your monthly mortgage.
I don't know. The current rates on jumbo,
Well, no, jumbo I thought is over 750.
it is. But if
Yeah.
you're okay, so let's do the math on that real quick.
Yeah, so if you got a $600,000 house, you're not a jumbo.
Oh, I thought we were talking about $1 million.
If you got $1 million, then and you put 20% down, you're at 8. Okay, so you're just over jumbo. You got $50,000 jumbo.
Yeah. So you want to know 800,000, Pat, or 600,000?
Those numbers got to be going down a little bit.
All right, so let's say it's 800,000, and then let's say you finance 600,000. And I don't know exactly where the rates are,
you're
but
looking
I
like
would say
you're
at
looking at-
least six and a
You're
half.
looking at like a $4,000.
I'm going to say 6.5 because I don't know what the current
Yeah.
rate is, and it depends on your credit and all that stuff. So if you're financing 600,000 at 6.5% for 30 years, it's 3792.41 plus taxes and insurance.
Yep, plus taxes and insurance. And if you're not porting your homestead, then
Your tax bill's going to be right.
And that's what
Cheaper to live on a cruise ship.
it is.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, but I like the idea of porting a homestead. So you buy a house for like 200, you sell it for 500, 600, and you port that whole gap between the 600 and the 200.
There's a cap on it. I forget what
It's
it
a
was.
$500,000
Is it
cap.
500? Okay.
But that's awesome because then you just move that into the new purchase. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to pay the higher
You
taxes.
get it one time. Remember Mike Fasano said one time.
One time.
That's what I said. One time. You get your portability.
Right now it's one time.
Yeah, I think that will change.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the point is, when you look at this data, look at year over year. Do you have that in yours?
Year over year, it's bunch of minuses. I mean, there are less homes, and we've been saying this steadily for the last 2 years. There are less homes year over year being sold at all prices.
So if you're going to sell and you're thinking like high fives, low sixes, or somewhere in that neighborhood, price it at $599,999.
Yeah, you'll be just on the better part of it. I mean, this is showing me that if you're looking for a home in the greater Tampa Bay area, odds are you're going to find one between 300 and 600. That is what this data is purely showing me. If
Yeah.
you want to stretch goal yourself, and probably Hernando County is the 250 to 299, but most of your stuff is moving between 300 and 600.
With most of the homes happening 4 to 599.99, right?
Well, with the median,
a little bit
price.
higher number,
Yeah,
yeah.
the median is just at 4. So
It's right in there. And then one more thing I want to look at, the inventory by list price. So the properties that are over $1 million, so $1 million or more, there was 909 of them, up 14.1%. So 14.1 more listings than we had the year before in June.
Yeah, so if you want this, we can actually produce this data for you on a zip code by zip code level. So
Or
if you-
market, however you want it.
Yeah, 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. Just text your zip code.
When we come back, we're going to talk about the why. So stick around. Good stuff coming.
Welcome home. This is Leo Kane with Beryl Engineering and Inspection. We're about to do my favorite part of the show. Which
Not
is
yet. We're going to do listings last.
last.
Listings last.
That's my favorite part of the show.
I know, but you got to wait for the good stuff. The listings are last. All right, so we've done all this talk about the numbers.
So wait a second. You're comparing the listings to like the cake at a wedding?
Yeah. For real estate agents, they are.
Okay, so after we cut the cake and announce the listings, everyone goes home?
Yeah, kind of. That's sort of what happens, isn't it?
Okay, yeah.
All right. So I want to talk about the Live Local Act that was signed into law March 29, 2023. You may remember we talked about this and a lot of other things that were signed into law. This was a really big deal for Florida and Florida housing. I'm just going to recap what this is because I think this plays into the strength of our market here.
And we're supposed to do predictions too.
I'm going to talk, it's where I'm going with
Okay,
this.
let's do it.
So $811 million was the largest investment in housing ever made in the state's history. Okay, ever. And this was $252 million to help people buy homes. We're seeing that right now. Huge percentage of people are using this down payment assistance to buy homes. $259 million were used to create affordable rental units. That's coming. There's a lot of grant money. There's one being built in Ybor City. That's for affordable housing. $100 million to help Florida workers buy their first home, and up to $100 million for business tax contributions and rental housing. So this was all part of the $811 million that invested into Florida housing. $1.5 billion over 10 years to build new affordable rental units, which I think is good. We need that. And then it expands the eligibility of the Hometown Heroes program. That's what we're seeing a lot of.
I love that Hometown
So
Heroes
before
program.
it was just like nurses, like in people in the medical field, certain ones, they expanded this to where it was open for everyone to use. And so they could use also the tax exemption credits to incentivize private investment in Florida housing for rental housing. And then it eases the restrictions on where affordable housing can be built. Remember, they did stuff in St. Pete where they're allowing like accessory dwellings, and a lot of other municipalities were following. Some of them had concerns that would be Airbnbs, but they said no, it's truly like affordable housing. Like Pat George mentioned earlier, you see all these cars in the driveway, right? And that's hence the multi-generational housing that we're seeing. Now, my prediction. I think this right here is what is really keeping our Florida housing market alive. Because it's an amazing program.
It is an amazing program.
And a lot of this is funded from the Sadowski Fund. Not all of it, but a lot of it is funded from the Sadowski Fund. And so basically they are essentially waiving a lot of the tax stamps. These rates are actually better on these programs. And they're meant truly for first-time home buyers that can live local and not have to, I mean, think about it. What if you had to go to Citrus County to buy something affordable and then you had to commute to Tampa, right?
Yes.
That'd be horrible. So this Live Local Act was designed to help keep the housing market strong and help buyers be able to get in as these rising interest rates just continued to, I mean, we had 11 consecutive rate hikes. There was a lot. So this is really good because it opened it up to everyone that could help them buy their first home. And it's truly a fantastic program. Now, when this runs out of money and when the student loans start to go back into repayment, which we have not seen yet since COVID.
We're going to see a lot of money disappear from the market.
We're going to see a lot of money disappear from the market. We're going to see, I think, inflation continue to climb.
So how many years do you think we have left?
For this, I don't know how much is left. Sarah might know, but there's a lot. They went through a lot of the money very quickly. The money that was allocated for Hometown Heroes alone, which was restricted based on occupation, was gone. So that's why DeSantis signed this into law to make more money available for affordable housing. Because, people are getting priced out from seasoned people, right? Like boomers retiring that were moving into the market. So the younger generation couldn't buy, right, with young families or whatever. So I think it was really good that they did this. I just think when this money goes away, because this is the bulk of the buyers we're seeing right now on our listings, and that's why you see so much traffic, right, in those median prices. And honestly, I know that they have this lumped from $400 to $599, $999, but I think they should lump it. They should break those apart.
I do too.
Because you would see a huge difference under 500, which is where most of that traffic is, compared to, the data that is that's closer to 600, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
So anyway, I think the market is going to shift, like the housing market and the economy is going to shift once this money is gone and once the student loan payments are going to be required.
That actually makes sense. But I mean, with the student loan forgiveness still moving forward, I mean...
That's what they say, but it's not finalized. So a lot of people that oppose that because of the debt that we already have, right?
So the 2024 election could be vital towards that could be the platform on the 2024 election, is you could be voting for the future of student debt.
Yeah, which is a double-edged sword, right? Because if you take on that amount of debt as a country compared to what we already have, it's not good.
And I do that because is it really, if the country's taking on the debt, but you get a more educated workforce producing a higher quality of work product, is it really...
But there's a lot of data that's showing that these people out of college with all the student loan debt are not necessarily making more.
No, they can't afford it. I mean, you go to college for like marine biology, you'll spend $100,000 on a degree to make 15 to 20 bucks an hour. But we need those people. We need people in those fields that can actually better society and better the world, as opposed to not going to college and then doing retail or sales when these people are truly passionate about science.
Yeah. Yep. So time for your favorite part, the listings.
Love the listings.
This one might be sold. Literally, I think we got an offer on this one
Well, then
last
let's
night.
not announce it.
But let's talk about it. Yeah, because it's a great property. We just modified the price on that one and improved a huge amount of land.
And we're
for
in
the price.
Dover, 2215 Fritzky Road in Dover, Florida. This one's listed at $500,000, built in 1988. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathrooms, and it's a beautiful gable home. It's kind of like walking up to this home. It's on 2.5 acres, so you wouldn't be walking up to this home, you'd be driving up to it.
Yeah, nice. And there's a beautiful creek that runs through this, like an active, moving, flowing creek. So no one's told me they tried to fish in there yet.
I wouldn't even know what to do with 2.5 acres.
The creek was pretty cool. I mean, it was neat. I haven't seen really flowing creeks that fast on a property here in Florida.
We got a minute left.
All right,
Your
so
turn to speed through
Bridalwood, 1037 Bridalwood Way in Brandon. This one had a tenant in there, so it was really hard to show. Once we reactivate this, which will be today, $275,000 for a 3-1. That is way under the median. This is going to go quick. I know that it will.
Does the 3-1 have a garage or doesn't have a garage?
No, it has like partial garage. Not really. And then Falconwood, this is in Fishhawk in the 600s. Amazing 4-bedroom, 3-bath pool home, 3-car garage in the low 600s. This one's going to fly off the shelf. You have an open house for that one this weekend, and 6702 DeVesta Loop down in Palmetto. Caller Texas will give you all the information for the open houses and the new listings not yet on the market. 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775.
Love where you live?